Have you ever wondered what are the downsides of the FIRE movement? It just can't be all that good, isn't it? Hello, beautiful people! This windy and not that glamorous day in Finland, I, Tatiana and Pekka are welcoming you on our channel Pipo Living, where we talk about personal finance and how to achieve your better financial future. If you're up to this task, come along, we'll go there together. Before we start diving into the downsides of the FIRE movement, let us take a short break and speak about the positive side so that you have an adequate impression of that. With the FIRE movement, there are lots of positive things that you can acquire. When applying all the things the FIRE movement offers you to do, you can achieve your financial independence. That's the first part of the FIRE word, quite soon. And that is a huge advantage of this personal finance theory compared to most of the other ones. So you can be free real fast and real soon with the FIRE movement. And with this comes lots of other perks. You can spend more time with your kids. You can devote yourself to your passion when you have achieved your financial independence. You can retire early. That's the second part of the FIRE movement. If you are financially independent pretty fast, retiring early is very possible. And after you have achieved your financial independence, you can basically do whatever you want. You can lay on the beach, you can pursue your hobby, you can devote your life to better purposes. And that is huge. That is something that we all should strive for, I think. Something meaningful in your life. That's what we need. Isn't it, Pekka? And I should mention one more. The FIRE community, when you're following this FIRE movement and you dive into this FIRE community, it is pretty welcoming and widespread, and you can get advice and support from them. So this is really nice. And now the sad part. It's not all that glamorous, like at all. And I think you should know. Before you start, or maybe you have already started but you don't know it yet, so this video will be beneficial for you. And if you haven't yet, hit the like button and subscribe button. Please do that now. It won't take long, and me and Pekka will be so happy to see you again. And this bell button will tell you when our next video is live. So go hit them all and we'll meet with you next time again. And now on to the minuses, the downsides of the FIRE movement. The first one you probably know, maybe not, that's large income. You need to have pretty large sustainable income to be able to pursue FIRE. Why is that? Why is that? That is because the more income you have, the more there is a room for investment. So if you have 200,000 per year income, the possibility of downsizing your expenses is really huge, and the percentage that you can devote to investments is pretty big there. If you have like 35,000 or even less, then the possibility of really cutting it and investing like 60, 70, 80%, it is almost equal to zero. So there is not much room to invest and to invest a large amount of income if you have your income really low. That's the sad part. But what you can do, you can try improve the situation with increasing your income. There is no much room of cutting expenses if your income is really low. Of course, you can try and do something, but actually it will be more beneficial if you will work on your income skills. It will be better if you will earn more. Maybe get education, maybe shop around with the other employers and check if they have better salaries, and maybe move to another place. Be creative. The second downside of the FIRE movement, maybe it's not a downside for some people, but we consider it a downside. It is that following this FIRE movement requires lots of concentration, attention, and willpower from you. The mistakes can cost a lot. Because in the FIRE movement, people are usually playing with their credit cards, playing on margin, taking credits for their houses, and these all are pretty risky. If you're not paying attention to it, if you're not concentrated on it all the time, if you miss the payment, for example, or that the market goes down and your house drops in value, or maybe something else, then all your plans of acquiring money from this particular thing will crash. And in terms of credit card, you will pay high interest rate and it will all go to nothing. So you need to really pay attention here. If you're free spirit or something similar and you don't want to go into nitty-gritty and really concentrate on this stuff for a long time, so probably you shouldn't go there. Third downside is pretty similar to the second one, but from a bit different side. You need a lot of research. You need to dig down. You need to put your nose into the ground and grind. You need to find information. You need to acquire lots of knowledge because you don't use any shortcuts like financial advisors or some other people helping you, because you're saving money everywhere and on those services as well. So you're doing everything yourself, so your knowledge level must be really high in order for you to succeed. You need to know the stock market in order to invest successfully. You need to know the house market in order to house hack successfully. If you want to renovate yourself, you need to be able to renovate yourself with your own hands. Maybe it's not always the case, but many of the FIRE community followers do the work themselves, and it requires skills in order to do credit card hacking, college hacking, car hacking really successful. You need to dig really deep there. You need to know all the nitty-gritty, everything yourself. So lots of research is demanded here. You will devote lots of time to acquiring knowledge in all this field in order to get the knowledge you need to succeed. So take this into consideration. The fourth downside is that you need to start early in order to benefit from compound investing. Imagine you want to retire at 40. Not too early, not too late, at 40. And if you're 30 now, you have only 10 years left. And imagine you were able to invest $2,000 every month during this time with the interest of 8%. For example, investing into stock market. In 10 years, you will get around $360,000. Not bad, but really not enough for retirement. But if you start doing this when you're 20, so you have 20 years of investment, you will get the advantage of compound interest on your side. Doing the same, but during 20 years, you will get, by the age you're 40, more than $1,137,000. That's already better, isn't it? And for some people, it is enough for retirement. Yay! And you're a millionaire. Yay! And it's not only because you invested more, you can compare the numbers. You invested twice more, but you gained 3 times more. Downside number 5. For some people, it can be really boring to retire. To retire early and do nothing. Actually, there are some people, if you won't think through that beforehand, and then suddenly you retire, and you don't have to work anymore, some people can feel lost and they can even start overeating, gaining weight, or playing a lot of, so like unhealthy a lot, playing video games or some other games, and that can really turn unhealthy to you. And in order not to get into that trap, think beforehand. What will you do when you're retired so that it will be meaningful and full of pleasure for you? You have worked for all those years, not for nothing, for something better than this. Downside number 6. you won't get any health coverage from your employer. So that's a big downside for those who live in the United States, though it can be not true in other countries. For example, here in Finland, everyone is eligible for free healthcare no matter what. You can, of course, have some advanced possibilities with your employer. You can have some advanced healthcare plans with private medical companies, but the basic one is pretty good and everyone can have it. So here in Finland, it may be not that big of a problem, but in other countries, especially in the US, that's a huge one. Because when you're buying your health insurance for yourself in the United States, for example, you need to pay like $700 per month. And that's quite a substantial amount of money, especially taking into consideration that you are living from your passive income when you're retired early. So you need to take that into consideration, and you need to be able to produce more passive income in order to cover this part of your life. Downside number 7. From the perspective of some of the methods people use in the FIRE community to get to this financial independence, for example, in terms of house hacking, it is not always applicable to everyone. So not everyone has a possibility to do this house hacking. For example, if you have a family and you can't rent out one of your rooms, of course you kind of can if you have a spare one, then probably the chances are you don't have it because you have kids. And also, even if you have it, it is not really convenient. I mean, not convenient at all to have some stranger renting out a room in your apartment when you're with your little kids and they're screaming and you're like half naked breastfeeding and all that jazz. Downside number 8, is it 8? Yes, 8 is travel hacking. Travel hacking is something that FIRE followers really use a lot. They travel for free or really cheap and they're happy with that, but not all people on the earth live in the United States or some countries where they have these kind of programs with credit cards. We don't have it. Like, nothing. We have credit cards. The only benefit that we can get from it is, apart from borrowing money, is if it's like high level credit card, you can get your travel insurance there. No points, nothing to benefit your travel at all. So this is something that you need to consider if you're trying to follow this FIRE movement. It's really not for everyone to do this travel hacking. And the last downside, number 9, that we wanted to talk to you about today is following the FIRE community guidelines in order to achieve financial independence usually requires quite radical change in your lifestyle, and many people are not really ready for that. They are not ready to sacrifice their young years in order to live in scarcity, and maybe you won't be even alive to enjoy this retire early perks that you are striving for. And even if you do, maybe the trade-off doesn't make sense for them all that much. Maybe they want to enjoy life here and now and they don't care about future. Maybe I don't necessarily agree with them, but maybe sometimes too much is too much. So everyone should take into consideration what they can do, what the level of comfort they want to live in. And maybe they have families, they have kids, and they can't force kids eat rice and beans and rice all the time until they graduate school because you want to retire early. So think what is better for you. Hear me out. We are not here to make excuses not to follow the FIRE movement. We are actually really excited with the FIRE movement. We are really, I personally, when I found it, I was like, wow, there are some people that think that being frugal and really saving, investing money, it is kind of cool and you can have this free life and not when you're super old and before that. And that is really, really exciting, especially when you can then devote your time to something interesting, to something that fuels you up. But at the same time, maybe find this interesting and what fuels you up a bit earlier. Maybe start it as a side business, a side hustle, or maybe just like a hobby, so that those years of grinding, of acquiring your wealth won't be so dull and empty. And on this happy note, we are finishing today's video. Hopefully you could find something beneficial for you. If you know someone who also can benefit from our video, please share with him or her our video, and hit like, subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next video. Love you. See you. Bye. And on those I'm filming. Yes.